Hey, Jess. Hey, check it out. New game, Kickstarter Prototype from the guys who made Fleet.
Oh, crab meeples.
No. This isn't actually a fishing game. It's this neat, like, tile placement, area control, market... What's wrong?
No, crab meeples?
In Morocco, 2 to 5 players will take on the roles of merchants, eager to ply their trade in the grand bazaar of the titular city. And there are lots of stalls waiting to be claimed, but the merchant who controls the most stalls will undoubtedly have the best profit, so each merchant has an army of workers waiting to be sent out to claim their spaces. Each turn is divided into 2 segments. The first of those segments is the information gathering phase, during which you will gather information, which is to say cubes, by moving the pawn around this track. On a player's turn, they will move the pawn to one of the 5 open locations. And what that does is it determines what color cubes they will receive, the one on either side. It will also determine what color all the other players get, which is the one immediately behind the pawn. On another player's turn, they will have to move away from this space, and then the process will continue. Now, as soon as you set up the board for Morocco, you can already see the cleverness of its design in play. The edges of the board are lined with colored cubes, and what that does is it makes sort of an XY coordinate system so that each one of these different stalls can be described by 2 cubes. This one, for example, brown and yellow. When you're spending cubes to send workers to occupy positions in a stall, you're spending the cubes that match that coordinate.
Of course, you only get to choose which cubes you get once, when it's your turn to move the marker yourself. The rest of your turn's cubes are given to you by the other players when they move the marker. So often, you just have to wing it and make the best of what you have.
In the second half of the turn, each merchant's going to vie for control over stalls, assigning workers to try and get a majority control before their opponents manage to muscle in. Now, each stall can hold 4 workers, and as soon as a 4th worker is placed, that stall is immediately scored. When a tile is scored, each worker claims one of these neutral juice seller tokens if they're available. These guys are worth victory points at the end of the game, and even if it's not your tile that gets scored, if your worker's there, you'll get to pick up your points. Also, as soon as a tile gets scored, whoever has the majority gets to place down one of their market tiles, claiming that spot as their own. Now, these things are important because they stand to earn you a boatload of points at the end of the game.
Boatload! Aha! I knew there was fishing in this game.
There's not fishing. There's not fishing. What's important about these tiles is that the largest contiguous block of them that you manage to establish will get you a series of bonus points at the end of the game. So the area control aspect of Morocco is actually twofold. You care about having worker majority because that'll let you claim these spaces, but then you care about which spaces you're claiming because they'll get you a lot of bonus points if they're next to each other. But the cleverness doesn't end there, because each market tile has a little arrow at the bottom of it, and you can orient this arrow towards any unscored market stall next to you. And now the consequence of that is awesome, because for every arrow, they're called overflow, pointing to a stall, it lowers the necessary workers for scoring that stall by 1.
That makes for some really cool combo potential. Imagine you've got 3 workers in 2 adjacent stalls. You manage to place a 4th worker and score it, placing your stall tile so it points to your other nearly controlled tile. Then, bam! That stall only needs 3 workers, which it already has, so then you score that stall. And, well, you see where I'm going with this.
Yeah, right where all the points are. But yeah, absolutely. The market overflow mechanic is really, really brilliant because it forces you to think on a higher strategic level. Because it's not just you who's going to have an easier time controlling those stalls. It's anybody. So between that and the bonus that you get from controlling stalls with a majority, the only way you can expect to win is if you have majority every single time. Or is it? When you come in second or third place in scoring a stall, Morocco's really clever catch-up mechanisms will kick in. In addition to a couple of bonus points to soothe the burn, you'll gain access to coins and bodyguards. Now, coins are easy. They're really just wild. They substitute for any color cube that you might need in paying to deploy a worker. But they also do something else that's pretty cool. They can actually exchange the positions of cubes around the market. And of course, you can use those to either set up combos that you couldn't have taken before, or to mess up combos that you know your opponents are going after. These little guys are generic. They're your steady eddies. You pay 2 cubes associated with the stall that you're sending them to, and they occupy one of the spaces. These bodyguards, the ones that you get from coming in second or third when scoring a tile, they get placed the same way as the generic dudes. You drop 1 by spending the 2 cubes necessary, but they count for 2 when determining control over a stall. The cousins come in pairs, and you only ever get 2 of them for the whole game. You place them by spending the cubes you need plus 1, and what they do is they place 2 workers simultaneously, 1 in the stall you paid for, and 1 in any adjacent stall. The final type of worker is the tourist. You only get 2 of these for the whole game also, and in order to place them, just like the cousins, you need to pay 3. You'll pay 2 for the space you're sending them to, and 1 of any color. What's interesting about these guys is once they've been placed, when the tile is scored, what they do is they will travel in the direction of the arrow to occupy a space the next tile over. They only do this once though, and then they're replaced with a generic worker, and then they've been spent for the entirety of the game. And it's in this interplay where Morocco really comes to life. Coming in second or third in scoring a stall might feel lousy because you're not going to get the bonus points for it, you're not going to get to place a market stall, but you'll get access to the bodyguards, you'll get access to coins, all these clever little catch-up mechanisms that really are kickers that keep you in the game. And each of the different worker types have the potential for these big plays, these niche, sometimes pocket plays that tend to swing the game in a really dramatic way all of a sudden. It all hangs together really well, and it is all very, very cool.
Once enough of the board has been claimed, the game will end and the final points will be tallied. This is where those bonus points for the largest block of tiles will come into play. Once everybody's score is counted, a winner is declared.
Morocco is a unique experience. Like many of our favorite games, it's both simple and clever, combining a few brightly polished mechanics into a well-working whole. The grid coordinate system feels fresh, and multiple worker types are intuitive, giving the whole experience a beautifully tuned and sublimely accessible feel. With enough player choice to be truly engaging, but not so many moving parts as to be unwieldy, Morocco is one of our new favorites, for sure.